Good morning and welcome to the upper deck. It's the holiday season and we have a lot of things on our wish list. I am Lynn and sitting right next to me is Ciarra. How are you doing, Ciarra?
Good morning. I'm doing wonderful. I do have a lot of things on my Christmas list this year, and I need Santa Cashman to deliver for me. He's been pretty aggressive this off season, and he's making the moves, but I need a few more before I'm completely satisfied.
Yeah, I am going to be the greediest girl ever and but I've also been very good so I'm feeling like I deliver it. I deserve it. So, I want to start off by saying good morning to all the other good girls and boys out there. Lori, first of all, thanks for chiming in to report that you can't be here today. We're really going to miss you. CT, 4:58 a.m. I mean, I don't even know what kind of an attendance award I could give you for that. Mazda, what's up? I see that you've been here. My computer is freezing, so now I can't go down the chat list, and I don't even know if you can hear me. But look at me with the frozen face that I would never want the world to see. I see it happening right now. So just welcome to everybody that's here. Oh, and I'm back. And let's see, John the Beagle Dad, I see you. Thanks so much, FJ. Numbers guy. Wouldn't be a week without you. Hold my beer. Glad to see you back. Hey, sis. There's my sister Karen and Lou and Gregory Wayne. And I see all the things you guys are saying. Good morning, Shayna. And let's just get going. So there's been a lot of action this week and there's been now a lot of waiting. So uh, let's start with you know what, I'm taking this down because I'm removing it. Because I want, if you notice, like, once a teacher, always a teacher. I have like a lot of stuff. I made a chalkboard for us of some of the stuff, and what the team may or may not look like, which may help us discuss our wish list. So I'm going to kick it to you, Ciarra, for your first thoughts.
So I see that the chat is really talking about Cody Bellinger, and I want to share my conspiracy theory with everybody. So I think the Cubs are going for it this season because, first of all, they don't want to eat Cody Bellinger's money. They're not happy with how he performed last season after the contract that, evil man Scott Boras went out and got him. It was a great contract for Cody, wasn't very team friendly for the Cubs, and Cody did not live up to his expectations. But on the flip side, the Cubs themselves didn't really perform, right? With that being said, as we all know, the Cubs just went out and got Kyle Tucker. He was the next comparable, like the most comparable available person compared to Juan Soto. You know, we just went through this ugly breakup. We were looking to rebound, and Kyle Tucker just didn't happen to work out for us. With that being said, the Cubs could compete this season if they keep Cody Bellinger because they could put Cody at first. They could put Michael Busch back at third. They have Horner when he comes back in May, and they have Dansby Swanson for second and shortstop, and then they have Seiya Suzuki at DH, and they put Tucker in the outfield. All they got to do is get pitching, and that's what they're looking to do right now. Now they're in
Hmm.
conversations with Luis Castillo and Jesus Luzardo. So I'm not saying it's not possible for the Yankees to get Cody. I really want Cody Bellinger. However, everyone else wants him for first base. I want him for left field. I would love Cody in left field. I also think that Cody and Judge would play very well together. I especially love the comments that Cody Bellinger made a few years ago about the Astros and how they robbed Judge of his 2017 MVP. Uh, but at the same time, there's some history between Cody and Big G, and there's just a lot. There's a lot to consider, guys, and I have a lot of conspiracies running around in my head right now. But either way, I still want Cody Bellinger.
So the thing with Cody Bellinger is we'd be bringing him on with 2 years left in his contract and assuming that, the Cubs are going to pony up on taking the big bits of that, right? Otherwise, I see Cashman saying no way. I think Cashman's hanging his hat on not having to eat much, if not any of that. I mean, he's going to have to eat some of it, but he doesn't want to eat anything about that, anything except like the half hamburger he finds in a dumpster. So I'm not. I think that's one thing. But the good thing is that Ciarra made me feel a little bit better about Bellinger because he would be a 2-year rental, not a 1-year rental. I'm very anti rentals. I think we've done our our service to rentals, and we should be doing all the evil big things we've seen other teams do. Having said that, I think he would definitely solve the problem in left field, and we need that. And so for me, that would be the number one reason, absence of any other possibilities to fill that hole, which we just do not have at the moment. I'd love to know if any of you have thoughts about others that I'm forgetting about in free agency right now. Ciarra, please, I don't know, but Bellinger at least, is would be a really good get. But he does come with some injuries, right? He has a bit of a history with injuries, or am I wrong about that, or is that not the issue?
I don't think that's anything to really worry about. I think he's consistent enough with his health to be in the outfield. He's not
Okay.
like Big G level of injury where we have to worry about losing him every June. As much as I love the guy, we always know what's going to happen. But I just think he would be great for left field because then that still opens the door to first base for other bigger name free agents like Peter Morgan Alonso. And could you imagine Judge, Bellinger, Alonso, and then Stanton in your lineup? I left out the leadoff hitter because I'm going to save that for later. But could you imagine those 4 in a row, guys? Like that. Whew! I'm getting hot thinking about it. Like that's a beautiful lineup.
And it's going to make everyone else that we would worry about look even better, I think, and like want to be juiced and try to follow that. And Big Blue is kind of sort of agreeing with you here, although he would perhaps put Judge in, behind Bellinger, but the point is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean that is an outstanding lineup. And I think that, yeah, and Gregory, you raise a good point here. Why would the Cubs deal Cody now after getting Tucker?
And that's what I was saying earlier. Like they could compete, guys. Like I think Jed Hoyer. So Jed Hoyer. I live in Chicago, guys. The people here hate Jed Hoyer. Okay, the Cubs have not been competing. They haven't been doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's embarrassing because you have their crosstown rivals, the White Sox, who just are trash, and the two shouldn't be associated. I think Jed Hoyer is doing everything he can right now to save his own job, and if that means competing for one season with Kyle Tucker, then why wouldn't they do it? But at the same time, the other half of me says they're really upset with Cody Bellinger and they want him gone. And their outfield is loaded right now for the Cubs. Even in their minor league system, they have somebody who's ready to come up. And I just don't know. There's so many scenarios. I just think Cody Bellinger in left field would be a beautiful thing for the Yankees, and Pete Alonso at first would solve so many issues.
Okay, and so I'm going to give you a counterpoint to that in a second, from Brad. And hey, Brad, good to see you join us. So Cole, and CT said that there's MLB scoops, and right now it's just a scoop. It's not a whoop. There it is. That they might actually be willing to eat the entire contract. Well, then why would we say no? And so, Mr. Barros, hey, good morning. You agree with Ciarra? You want him so bad. I don't know if like he's top on your list for Santa, Mr. Barros, but I think you and Ciarra are definitely in line there. Brad's chiming in though to say, and this is true. I think I might have had it in my notes somewhere about the strikeout average there, and where he is in that list. But but then again, we can't talk about our captain. So
let me give you a counterpoint, Brad, to sell you on Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso is a West Coast guy. Do you know what that means? That means that we would have a Dodger killer in our lineup. And who doesn't need a Dodger killer? I think all of MLB can agree at this point that the Dodgers are the enemy. So bring me Pete Alonso. And guys, I put a graphic up on my Twitter feed. I think it's been 2 days now of Pete Alonso in a Yankees uniform. So if you want to see how good he looks in a Yankees uniform, I suggest you head over to Ciarra Not Miss on Twitter and check it out. I also put up Vladdy Jr. in a Yankees uniform because he is someone I could also see when he becomes a free agent being a Yankee. Just saying.
So, I don't. If you heard a lot of buzzing from me, I apologize, and I apologize for the freeze frame that very attractive freeze frame that just happened. For those of you that noticed or will be listening later, but anyway, so, and I missed part of what you said.
I was saying, so I put up a graphic of Pete Alonso in a Yankee uniform the other day that really made both fan bases upset, let me just say. But it looks natural for him if you go look at the picture on my Twitter feed. And then I also put up one of Vlad Guerrero Jr. in a Yankees uniform because he is a free agent next season. And I'm just saying, Toronto never competes, so why not give him up? Just throwing that out there.
Yep. And Gregory, Ciarra and I were actually talking about this before we hopped on. Teoscar over Alonso all day.
Yeah, I was on the Teo train, but the most recent reports show that we are nowhere in the conversations with Teo. It looks like he really wants to go back to the Dodgers, so he's trying to work that out with his agent. After the Dodgers, it's the Red Sox, the Mets, I think. I could be wrong on that third team, and the Phillies. So we are not even in his top 5 at this point. But I don't hate it. I think Teoscar is a great addition, but I just don't see it happening. Also, I want to whisper this name available for free agency for left field because I don't want to be attacked, but Alex Verdugo is still available.
No. You whisper, I yell. Hell to the no.
But just hear me out. Just hear me out. If we get Cody Bellinger or Pete Alonso, put them at first base, and let's say we still go out and get Breggy and put him at third base, and we move Jazz to second, Verdugo playing great defense in left field, to me that makes up for his terrible offense because think about it. We haven't had a true left fielder in years. And third base has been a rotation since the A-Rod days. So if we go out and we get Breggy, we put him at third base, I would take Verdugo's defense any day of the week over a lot of guys in this league. But that's like plan Z, guys, plan Z. But I'm just throwing it out into the universe just to get your guys' brains working on this beautiful Sunday morning.
CT's response was way now. But Big Blue is saying love Verdugo. And Karen's saying since Guardy, I missed the first half of it, probably when I was buzzing.
Since Guardy, it's been a rotation at left field. We haven't had a true left fielder.
Yes, absolutely. That's my sister stroking my Guardy forever. I love it. So, but numbers guy seems to think like just by saying Doogie, I think he's saying yes. And so look, here's the thing. I know I just laid down a hard no about it. But that's out of selfishness. Like, yeah, if we get some really good bats, if we do get the Bellingers and we get Bregman, and I have all sorts of feelings about Bregman, but I also can be a bigger person for this team. Then does that really, yes, that helps us. Alonso would help us being a power hit batter. Like all those things would help us. But why can't we have more of them with everyone we get on? So shouldn't batting be, why can't we get the full package ever? So and what is it saying that Doogie's still lingering out there? And I know we're going to be talking about that about another player later. But why is he still lingering? Because you're right. I mean, he is an A-class outfielder, and he definitely has grit, and he definitely has spirit, and there's no one that could say that he didn't work hard. That laziness that we supposedly would have inherited from the Red Sox, we really didn't see that. I mean, he took up that mental capacity of the Yankees and ran with it. So, would I be mad? I wouldn't be mad. I would just, think about, wow, who else could we who else could we have gotten? But whoa, Brad is saying that you've had your delusional pills. Next you'll want. Okay, well, you know
All
what?
right. All right, if we're gonna go there, we're gonna go
That's
there.
it. Thanks for opening up
So,
that door that was gonna bust open anyway.
listen, I'm gonna lay out my lineup for 2025 for you guys. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up. So I gave you a good chunk of it already, and I left the leadoff hitter off for a reason. But Caleb Durbin just got traded away, guys. He's out in Milwaukee with his no neck. He'll stay warm because he doesn't have anything there. But our lineup next season, to me, let's go Gleyber Torres leading off because we need a leadoff hitter. Let's Judge, Bellinger, Pete Alonso, Stanton, Austin Wells, Jazz Chisholm Jr., Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez. Because then you guys still get your mix of young guys. We're giving Jason Dominguez his shot in center field and putting him ninth, right, in the lineup. That gives him the opportunity to steal bases. He's like essentially having an additional leadoff hitter. And you have your leader, you have your veterans, you have your leaders, you have Stanton and Judge who are in, I'm crowning Stanton captain right now. I say he's captain because you can't look at what he's done for this team and tell me he's not a captain. And you have Judge, and then you bring in new guys like Bellinger and Alonso. That is a beautiful lineup. And I'm gonna keep my delusional hat on. But what happens in 2025, I'll be the first to say I told you so.
Yeah. And let's not forget that all the things that Ciarra said about I just blacked out again on this screen. God bless America already. About Gleyber. About Stanton rather. You have to kind of remember that Gleyber is Stanton Jr. right now because, inconsistent as hell all season long, absolutely needs to go to fundamentals university, and then grad school and then get a doctorate. There's no doubt about that. But you know what? One of three that really got us like away from embarrassment during the postseason, and got us to the World Series because that spotlight came on and he said, no pun intended, hold my beer, but he said hold my beer, and was the best surprise of the season for me, and so I'm willing to take Gleyber back, absent of anything else. But of course, if I had the scenario where there's no other place for Chisholm because we bring on Bregman at third, then that's going to be a different conversation. So I'm just preparing you for that right now, Ciarra.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm totally prepared for Gleyber to not be on this team. I just think it's so funny now over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. All of these people who hated on Gleyber Torres all season are now calling for him to come back. And you know what? I've never given up hope. And as soon as they announced the trade where we received Devin Williams, which I want to talk about that because that was a fantastic move by Cashman. Well, we got rid of Caleb Durbin, who was supposed to be his replacement. It was all smoke and mirrors. So that opens up the door for my boy to come home. And they did it on Gleyber's birthday. Okay. I'm just saying it could have been a birthday present to Gleyber Torres. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, absolutely. And you don't have total disagreement in the chat. And hey, Raziel, thanks. Good to see you. And did I miss Egyptian come in as well? Great to see you guys. And yeah, thank you for that. Slap the like. If you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And hey, become a member. You'll have entree into all of our premium videos, both live and recorded. So yeah, so let's talk about, you mentioned Williams, so let's talk about the bullpen. There's some question marks there, but there's some that are, sealed in, right? So first of all, Devin Williams is going to be so key to the team this year. I didn't expect to get somebody who's such a lights out closer, like elite closer, which we can't say Weaver is, but he's high he's he's just high up there when you want to talk about, the most elite in MLB. So I was just very excited about that. And Weaver will be the setup guy. I had a little bit of an exchange about Weaver, wondering, although we don't seem to need it now, but wondering if, you know, um, depending on how things work out with some of the starters, because we know that some of the starters have invisible question marks on them behind me. Um, would we be putting Weaver in, to start in some of the games? I know he hasn't had the best outings of that, but you know what? I feel like he really grew chops this past season.
Mhm.
And I think that he really, yeah, I'd like to see his range of pitches expand a bit. But other than that, his control, his ability to be in a pressurized situation and just shove. I mean, he really was our closer, and we were not nervous about it. And yes, I'm speaking for everybody, but so we meaning me, right? And I wouldn't be mad if he had to be more regular at some point as a starter. Not wishing it in terms of injuries on the starters right now, but just saying. Now we got Johnny Lowe coming back, which is great news. But let's remember how long we had to wait for him to come back and what he's coming back from. So, you look at this list on its face, and it's a long list, even above those question marks. That's like a solid list, right? But you got to look at the holes in this list. Leiter Jr. Certainly had his moments, good and bad. Helped us out in the postseason, for sure. So of the ones that we have, and that's everything above Hill. Um, who would you expect to be traded away for something better, or maybe traded away, or are they here to stay? Ciarra.
So I honestly think that Mark Leiter Jr. could be a good trade piece for us. He has good numbers in the past, but just maybe not for the Yankees. I know he turned it around a little bit in the postseason, but for me that was too little, too late. Especially if we're still trying to get bigger guys in trades, right? We have to give up some of our pitching because that's what most teams are looking for. And now with Devin Williams, who has a career 1.83 ERA, Luke Weaver, little psychopath, gotta love him, and Johnny Loizaga, we have a pretty solid bullpen, and we can afford to get rid of some of these guys. I personally would bring back Tim Hill and get rid of Mark Leiter Jr., Efros, even because honestly, even Efros, I feel like we haven't seen enough of him in recent times because of his injuries. But that's a conversation for a whole nother day. I know that when we were talking to Houston, they wanted Luis Heel, but Brian Cashman doesn't want to give him up, which I understand. Like he just won Rookie of the Year, but at the same time, he's at his highest value right now, right? And to me, I'm okay with trading Luis Heel. He's too inconsistent. So if we can trade him and get something that we truly need at first or third base, why not? Like we produce pitching. That's what the Yankees do. We always go out, we find bullpen arms, and we make things work. So I'm okay with giving up some pitching at this point. Because like I said, we have Weaver, we have Williams and Loizaga coming back. And then in our starting rotation, you have Garrett Cole, Max Fried, and Carlos Rodon. Boom, boom, boom. Like that's it. On paper, we probably have the best pitching rotation right now in the entire MLB. It's scary good.
So, what I would say. Well, first I want to mention that Sandman put Machado in the mix,
Mm.
and so there's that to think about. And Brad's tossing Tanner Scott into the mix. So there are still some arms out there that are worth considering there. I would say, and kind of, I split the pictures up on either side of me, on either side of this brown halo that I seem to be wearing, which wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a pitcher's mound. But this was actually, what I was thinking the lineup would be, because yes, we know that Rodon came to us as this big ace, but he was not what he purported to be. Much better last season. We've said that a million times. But what was he as solid and as present as we needed him in the biggest time of the season, which was the postseason? No, he wasn't. And so I don't really care about the order. Clearly we have him. Clearly he belongs there. But I think that, bullpen over the starters would be the place to add the arms. And look at the question marks here. I agree with you full-heartedly that Hill, I would want Hill back. And I think Hill, and I agree what you said about Efros and for sure. And Leiter Jr., you know what? We had some bright, shiny moments from him late in the season, in the postseason. But you know what? I wouldn't be sad. I don't know if any of our friends in the chat would be sad, but and the thing with Canely is I love Tommy, but to me he's a little bit of a two-sided coin, and well, all coins are two-sided. I get that. But not the best reference, but my point being, you don't know what you're going to get when the coin hits the ground. And so when he's on, you want him to be that guy you bring in. But I didn't like some of the inconsistency, a lot of the inconsistency I saw him when he came back this year. And we still have Stroman hanging in the wind. So that's a question mark as well. This is our fifth five-man as far as I'm concerned. So with Nestor being gone, what happens with Stroman? And are they just waiting to use him in a package? My feeling is they're waiting to use him in a package, and he'll be off the list there. But what do you think's happening with Stroman?
I don't think they're going to try to get rid of Stroman. So number one, Stroman doesn't have as high as a value to trade as Heel and Schmidt. But also, I think if you look at Stroman's numbers, I know the second half of the season he struggled last year, but if you look at his numbers, he is the perfect number 5 pitcher, and he is a ground ball pitcher, right? So I'm not concerned about Stroman giving up 3 home runs in a row like I am Rodon. But that also goes back to, if we have a ground ball pitcher and Stroman and a Max Fried, we need the first and third baseman. Wow, I got tongue tied there.
Exactly. So it's an argument for Bregman.
Yeah. So I think Stroman stays put. I think Luis Heel could still be on the table, but maybe because of how much of a rival they are, that's why Cashman didn't want to trade him to Houston. I could see him in the conversation with the Cubs personally, because the Cubs, that's what they're looking for right now, is pitching. So we'll see.
Yeah, so we will see about that. I'm a Stroman fan. I'd like to see him. I'd like to see and hope to see some improvement from the off season from him. And let's see what happens when he gets Blakeified a little bit more. But and so I wanted to bring this up from Mr. Barros, because I'm glad you brought up Cabrera. And I know that we just went on the party train about Alonso or potentially and Bellinger. I think I think there's some agreement, definitely between Ciarra and me, that Bellinger will be in the field, left field. But he could be first if we needed him to be. I think that Cabrera, you're saying third base and moving him to second. I want Cabrera to be on the team. I know we need the utility guys, and I know it's a hard choice, but and I would choose first over third for Cabrera. Just because he's had the most road under his wheels there. But I would like to see him have a position on, rather than utility guy. So, and I know we've talked about this before, but I'm going to use every opportunity that I see in the chat to bring up Cabrera. What do you think, Ciarra? If anything else, if everything else that we're talking about, if Santa decides we haven't been good enough, What are your thoughts about Cabrera?
Well, first of all, Santa, I've been extra good this year, so I think I deserve everything I want. Listen, I'm gonna preface this by saying I love Cabrera. He is such a sweetheart, and I know that that's not important in baseball, but I just want to say that because to me, it's important to have just people with good hearts. He is your super utility guy, but with that being said, I don't see Cabrera being an everyday player. We saw Cabrera. We know what we're getting out of him. We've seen his ceiling. We've seen his floor. I don't think you're getting any more out of him at this point. However, I still want him on this team. He is what DJ LeMahieu was supposed to be for us, and that's that super utility guy. So when you need rest at pretty much any spot in the infield, you have Cabrera for that guy's day off. He also plays a little outfield, so it's one of those things where you want the guy on your team, but he's not an everyday player. And I know that that might upset some people, but again, love the guy. Want to see him on the Yankees. Like he's a fantastic teammate. He shows up to every game, every practice, every game, whatever, with multiple gloves, first, second, third, outfield. So that to me, that's a teammate. But I would still prefer to have punchable face Bregman at third base or Pete Alonso, Bellinger, even Christian Walker at first base at this point over Waldo. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to apologize. But since that kind of put me on first base with everybody. Looking at this list here, okay, we have Cabrera question mark. I think there's reason to not really consider that so highly anymore. We haven't talked about Rice though, and if we would pivot to Rice, or if not, who, if we don't get an Alonso or a Belly. And Belly, I take off that list anyway. Let's say if we don't get Alonso for the moment.
Yeah, it's so hard because you do have Rice and you do have Brumfield, and we've seen Rice, right? And we all rooted for the guy. We all want him to be successful. I was a big advocate for Rice over Brumfield. I still think he needs a little bit of development, but at the end of the day, if that's what my option is, then I guess I'm okay with it. It just makes me nervous because look, again, this is not me being negative about Anthony Volpe, so let me preference that right there. We put Volpe up on this pedestal, and we talk about all the errors that Gleyber Torres made, but Volpe was right behind him last season with 16. So you need a good, strong first baseman over there to save a lot of Volpe's throws. And that's not a knock on the kid. He showed up when we needed him the most in the World Series, and I truly thought he saved our asses and we were going to keep going. But his defense, it still needs a little work, like as far as what making throws and stuff. So first base makes me really nervous just for that alone. And then second base, it's up in the air. Like if we don't get a third baseman, Jazz has to stay at third. So who's playing second? If we do get a third baseman, you have Jazz at second. So I'm not as nervous about him being over there and making the throws to first, but I think Rice isn't strong enough for what Volpe needs at first base, and that's what makes me nervous.
Right. And I hear all that, and Gregory, absolutely he could develop more in the spring. I would imagine that he's doing enough work on his own, in the off season already, and I'm sure he's going to get an invitation to spring training. I don't see a world where he wouldn't be brought up for spring training, and so we'll see what we get. We'll see where we land with the rest of this trading hotness going on right now.
But at the same time, too, though, guys, like one of my biggest concerns is I think the Yankees have more pressure on them going into the 2025 season than any other team out there. We were painted as having the easiest road to the World Series. We laid over and died against the Dodgers because we beat ourselves. Like we have to make a bigger statement than anybody else. And to me, like, I'm not saying F them kids, because I'm not Wu-Tang, but for the moment, F them kids, because I want to win the World Series and show the world that we're not a punk team that's just going to like give up. We need to bounce back and we need to win. And that's why we need solid veterans at the corners, right? I don't know.
Yep.
I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore because I'm not against it, but it's like I just want to win.
I do. You had me at solid veterans. I do. So I'll rescind my Cabrera comments because you're right. we want them on those corners. We need them on those corners. So, and I really consider Chisholm a veteran in this definition. So if it stays Chisholm at third, I'm not going to be mad if we don't get Bregman for it, because he's proven himself. I think that, Ciarra, close your eyes, but, Lou is saying Volpe needs to move from shortstop to second.
Have you been hanging out with LI Yankee King Lou? Because he
Oh,
says that all the time.
Shots fired.
It's not even meant to be a shot, but like LI literally says that all the time, and he's the only person I've ever heard say that. So I'm surprised to see Lou say it.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And Raziel's got doubling down on that. So, but let me ask you this, Ciarra, if you could be neutral about it.
I'll try.
Why are crickets chirping on Gleyber the way they are on Doogie?
So the thing is, it's not really crickets. So Seattle wanted Gleyber. The Angels were talking about Gleyber, and the Nationals want him to play third base for some reason. But Susan Waldman said on WFAN, and I don't listen to that very often, but I love my girl Susan, that Gleyber Torres is literally holding out hope for the Yankees at this point. He is tanking his own free agency because he wants to stay in New York. Now take that as you will, because that's his deal, right? We don't have to sign him. It is what it is. In 2025, if Gleyber's not at second base, I will learn to live with it, right? But he is holding out hope at this point. That boy wants to be in New York, and he wants to prove himself. And you know what? After the way he played in the second half of the season, and after the way he played in the postseason, I don't see why we can't give him a one-year prove-it deal. And you know, if he screws up, put his ass on the bench. That's what a coach is for. That's what you have other guys on the bench for. Is it not? Right? Like, is that not why we have those extra guys on the bench, that you can bench Gleyber when he's being stupid? But I also still think if you watch the opening game against Houston in 2024, you cannot convince me that Gleyber Torres didn't get injured and came back and played the next game like nothing ever happened. He struggled with that hand. And then second half of the season, completely different player. And not to mention, he should have stayed the leadoff hitter from the jump, because once they put him back in the leadoff, look at the magic that happened with Gleyber as leadoff.
Yep.
So I don't know if I really wasn't neutral. I'm sorry, I tried, but
no, I know you couldn't be. Like, it's great.
He gets a lot of hate, and he's a Yankee true and true. And I know people don't like when I say that he's a homegrown Yankee, but he was barely in the Cubs farm system when we got him. So to me, he's a homegrown Yankee. He's only ever been a Yankee. It's something special when someone only wants to play for one team their entire career and not chase the bag, because the world that we live in right now, and we just watched it happen, there is not necessarily any loyalty from players anymore. So when you have a guy like Judge who wants to be a Yankee for life, or a guy like Gleyber Torres, or freaking Brett Gardner who wants to be a Yankee for life, make it happen.
That's right. And it does matter, as like the oldest person in the almost the oldest person in the room. And the room, I mean, everybody in the chat. It does matter, because we want to hit our chests all the time about the legacy of the Yankees and the history of the Yankees. That's part of it, is that homegrown thing. Like, we're the team that players want to be at and stay at from birth to death, right? So and that matters, and that's rare, and that's part of what the Yankees can claim the most success with than other teams. And so it is part of what the values of the organization have always been. And we look at those players differently, and because we honor that. I think that we're going to get to Willard in a second, but I do want to bring up Mr. Barrows's comment. So, Mr. Barrows, here's the thing right off Jump Street here. Volpe is not going to be a second baseman. First of all, Volpe is the shortstop. And Peraza, like the guys have talked about a lot, and we've talked about. I think Peraza needs to be moved on and given a fair shot somewhere else, because the Yankees have not capitalized on him when they needed to in the way that they needed to. And the back and forth and moving him around in different places on the field when he did get up here was just, for a young kid to be through the revolving door that much and get the not so pretty explicit message that, yeah, you ain't it. I think that he needs to go into a new system entirely, for his benefit. So I don't think we're seeing Peraza anywhere. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in terms of an invitation to spring training. That's how much I think Peraza is off the minds of the organization right now. So I just wanted to say that. And hopefully you guys can still hear me.
We can hear
Oh,
you.
and
Yeah,
I'm
you're
back.
just frozen.
Okay. So, oh Lord. So hey Willard, good to see you. No disrespect, but it's ironic the Yankees hate Astros, but yet okay, but here we are, Willard, talking seriously about Bregman.
I have
Go ahead,
a
Ciarra.
quick breaking news. Well, it's not really news, but it's a John Heyman tweet that really plays into the conversations we've been having this morning. And it is John Heyman. So take this with a grain of salt because he's like a tier 3 reporter, right? He's not tier 1, he's not tier 2, he's tier 3. It says still a money gap in Bellinger trade talk with Yankees and Cubs as of this minute. It's a matter of who blinks first, if ever. Still could happen, but Yanks also considering Alonso, Walker, Carlos Santana, Josh Naylor, and Nathaniel Lowe, probably others. So it looks like first base is Cashman's priority right now compared to third base. And I don't know if that's because he knows that we can't give Breggy the contract he's looking for, or if like first base is really like maybe Cashman was listening to me this whole time. First base is his biggest priority because that's a lot of names that they're considering at first base at this point.
Right, and I do think that it's correct that first base should be priority over third base because again, I think we've seen enough out of Jazz to be comfortable there. So in terms of the other names, you just mentioned there, I would still like to see you brought me a bit closer to the Alonso train. Ciarra. So, I don't know. I know this isn't your field professionally, but boy, you could be a marketer and a promoter like nobody's business. Maybe you should be a baseball agent at some point because you really know how to sell things and make good points about it. That's my partner, ladies and gentlemen. So and Miguel's saying, hey, I would look into Lowe from Tampa. He plays second base, but to play first, he's a good bat. So you both, you and Ciarra, you seem to think he could pivot there. So it's good to know that we have that extra wriggle room beyond what's on the chalkboard behind me right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Cashman and Hal are trying to make a statement, right? They said, and I'm sorry guys, I have to talk about our ex-boyfriend real quick to get my point across. They said going into the Soto sweepstakes, there was a number that they weren't going to go over. And you know what? $760 million, that's a lot of money. So I can't even be mad at Hal for not signing him at this point. With that being said, he also knows that we need to compete because we got embarrassed in the World Series. So like I think this is the year where Hal and Cashman step it up and prove that they're actually worth the money that they get paid. Cashman obviously more than Hal because Hal owns the damn team, but I think this coming out of this offseason, I think this will end up being the happiest we've been in a long
time. What do you think about Vladdy Jr.? Oh boy.
So funny.
Nobody wants to ask me this question, so I'll ask you, Ciarra.
Because I put him in a Yankee uniform the other day, and he is my backup option to Pete Alonso. I want Pete Alonso first. If we don't get Pete Alonso, I would take Vlad Guerrero Jr. in a heartbeat because as much as Yankees fans love to make fun of him, love to make fun of his weight, that boy can run the bases, okay? For as big as he is, that boy can run. He can field first base beautifully, and he's a power bat. Like, do it.
I know.
Pull the trigger.
I know, but this is where I always get with certain players, and they've mostly turned out well. I was so anti Johnny Damon when they brought him on, and that was we were still in our Red Sox hate era then.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his long hair, and oh God, I just did not like him, and I wept real tears when he was no longer with us. But you know what? I just don't want him, like so many other guys, to come into this team, beating his breast about me, Vladdy, me, my house, my house, my house. Like it's that stuff. It's worse than the Soto shuffle in my book. It's like, no, like, okay, we're glad you have a high opinion of yourself, but no, there's no I in team. And I feel like I'm hoping he's not one of those guys. I hope he would be able to blend with the clubhouse. Everything else you said, which is what I should be focusing on, checks all the boxes. But it'll take me a minute. It'll probably take me several minutes.
I
Minutes
think
being years.
I think he's one of those players that once he's here and he shows you what he can do, you would like him. But I totally get what you're saying. I think one of the biggest problems in the Yankee clubhouse in general is we take away the players' identities. And that's the only reason I don't think Vlad would ever come here is because he would have to cut his hair. He would have to be clean shaven. And that's a big part of who he is. And that's why the pipe dream that I have of Fernando Tatis Jr. being on our team will never happen because we can't take his identity from him. He won't be the same player. But a pipe dream is a pipe dream.
Yeah, exactly. And we're allowed to have them. I mean, that's why we have a pipeline. So and Raziel, yeah, they do. And that's my quandary, right? I'm very protective of our pinstripes. So let him transform the way Doogie did, the way Stroh did, and I'll be all good. Everything else about him, yeah, hell yeah, we need him. And CT, I will look for Heyman's post. I seldom will look for anything from Heyman, but I will for you because you said so. And so, yeah, and
That was
so.
what CT is talking about is the tweet that I read.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. So I see why we would want him. And Ciarra, to your point about Vladdy, he is faster than you would expect him to, and yeah, I mean, of course, I'm gonna grab the opportunity for a commercial about um, overweight folks that could still perform. I'm an overweight folk who could still perform. The thing is, he is the full package, and I get that. And he's young, and he's still young. He's not as young as he was. None of us are, but I could go there. But he's coming late to the conversation. So um,
Raziel wrote Stroman off because he didn't play in the World Series at all. He just wrote him out of the whole thing. It's amazing.
okay, so I could see that. And Miguel is still on the Machado train, reminding us the Padres are looking to cut their payroll. I mean, so we'll see. I am sure there's names that haven't been in the conversation yet that we're still to hear. There's been so much action so fast that it's hard for me to remember. And we're only halfway through December, and we have all of January as well. And speaking of January, let's talk about the fact that Sasaki is now posted.
Yeah, listen. This is going to come back to bite me in the ass. I know it is, but I'm pretty confident that the Yankees are going all in on Sasaki because we have the most international free agency money out there right now. And it's not like it's a lot of money. I think like $5 million is all the guy can make, but still, that's it's something to speak for. So I could see Sasaki being a Yankee. But that brings us back to the question of what are we doing with this rotation because we have 17,000 starting pitchers or maybe we're just trying to build a super rotation because look at the Dodgers last season. They had a ton of pitchers and everybody still got hurt. So I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, Machado never crossed my brain in any of this. So So now he's on my radar for sure. And so I'm glad Raziel that you brought up Nestor. The one name that feels so weird not to have behind me on this little chalkboard I filled out before I came on.
I I feel
Go
like we've
ahead.
been trying to get rid of Nestor for a while. So the Yankees finally just were able to get someone to take him.
Yeah, except and God, I hate to say this because this would be so evil and conniving. If that were true, then why put him in over Stroh in the World Series at that moment, or anywhere
I
else?
I think with the way that Stroman's mechanics dropped in the second half of the season, there was zero faith in him whatsoever. And honestly, I know everyone loves to talk about Stroman and how he yaps, but he has not said one negative thing after that, right? So he knows himself that he needed to work on the mechanics. I think we are going to see a different Stroman in 2025. I'm hoping we see first half 2023 Stroman because that is the guy that you want in your pitching rotation. Um, and I think also, Nestor has been on this team forever. There's more trust there in general, just between him and Boone and him and Blake because of that.
Right. So boy, people are not jumping off, and I'm not mad at it. I want Machado in my head this coming week. Yep.
I'll take Machado. I need a villain on the Yankees. The Yankees need a villain. Judge is too nice. We need someone to be a bad guy.
Yep. Um, and before we move too far off of Nestor, I just want to take a minute, if you'll indulge me, to remember that it was just a couple of years ago where we were all on the Nestor train. It would be hard to have found a fan that was not. We were sending him apples for crying out loud. And wearing mustaches to games and all those things. Because he was at one time exciting and performative, and then
Mhm.
and then things just happened, and most recently the season ending injury. But so can I just remind you, and courtesy of Max Goodman, who we had for a while, and I just and I really hope that he is a star with the Brewers, but he went from a 36th round pick, who struggled to stay in the bigs with multiple teams. And then he became a valuable piece of the Yankees rotation. Everyone will remember the funky stuff he'd do. My favorite, the pretzel move, right? That wasn't a quote from Goodman. That was me. But there were stretches where he was truly an elite starter. And it's hard for us to remember this because we are short-term memory fans. And he was an all-star in 2022, his best season of all. So I'm just going to leave you with his numbers. His numbers from 2021 through 24: 93 games, 489 innings pitched, 28 wins to 19 losses, 3.33 ERA. That's the 22nd best among all starting pitchers with more than 400 innings pitched in that span. So that's 21 through now, right? A 495 K and a 1.08 whip.
Mhm.
So I want that to be the memory of Nestor, and not what we saw this season or in the postseason. So I just wanted to put that out there into the universe.
No, I totally agree. I think Nestor was a huge part of the Yankees. Looking back at 2022, big piece. 2023, into 2024, the injuries caught up with him. That coupled with the pitch clock, I think, is what was kind of Nestor's downfall. You can't do all that funky stuff with the
Yeah,
pitch clock, and that was a part of who he
abs-
was as a pitcher. But I do think he will be a good pitcher in Milwaukee. While the NL Central is competitive, it's not. I don't. It's a little different, and I think he'll do very well there. So we'll see what
yeah,
happens for him next
yeah.
season. I do want to address Miguel Jimenez and his comments. Why are we trying to trade away Stanton for Machado? What are we doing here?
What?
Why are you trying to break my heart? Um,
Oh my
bi-
God, you had me, Miguel. I was Team Miguel. I was going to talk to Ciarra after the show about, well, I hope we see more of Miguel. What the fuck, Miguel? Oh, you made me say that. Um, Oh no, don't get us started on Stanton. Go ahead, Ciarra. Say your thing.
No, that was what I had to say. Miguel's trying to break my heart over here. Our stream is almost over, and he just ripped my heart out and stepped on it.
Oh,
We are Big Daddy Stanton lovers over on this channel. He carries this team in the playoffs. He's a huge part of the Yankees. Lynn mentioned the clubhouse earlier. Stanton is the underrated clubhouse guy, and I've said it so many times in the past month. You guys are probably sick of me saying it, but Stanton is the unwritten captain of that team. That is who the guys turn to when they are struggling to hit. That is who they look up to, because at the end of the day, Stanton will be a Hall of Famer. And then also, he was just in Puerto Rico speaking with some children. Love that man. Such a good guy.
listen.
Yankee for the rest of his career.
Absolutely. And so, Ciarra was very nice. I'm going to be a little bit salty. Stanton is worth every dime he makes, if for no other reason and no other moment of glory than the postseason. We don't get anywhere close to the postseason, into it as far as we did all the way without Stanton. And I'll say we wouldn't have even made the postseason without Stanton, because while Stanton has been known for waking up in the offseason, in the postseason, he was a contributor, an inconsistent contributor, but a contributor just the same during the season. Him and his skinny legs and his slim down bod, let me just remind everybody, he went from 2 miles per hour to 5. That's a lot for a guy like Stanton. And look at him stealing a couple of bases, and look at him making second and third on a line drive that didn't go very far. So he's worth every penny. He's not going anywhere. You know why? Because Ciarra and I would chain ourselves to him somehow, and be willing to get arrested. I'm sure you will all bail us out, but that's how far we'll go. So no.
Miguel, you redeemed yourself. Okay, I'm glad you're a Stanton fan. I totally get where you're coming from. He is, he did just turn 35 like last week. Is thin Carlo, as I like to call him, with his skinny little legs. They're not athletic, but if you take a look at 2024 and you look at where we crashed and burned in the regular season, was June. You know who got injured in June? Giancarlo Stanton, and that's when it all fell apart. So maybe those two don't correlate, but I say it does.
Yeah, and Miguel, you get to stay for saying that you love him. So you just walked into a house you didn't know who lived in it when you said that. But so glad for all the input you gave us today. And yeah, 35 hurts. Look, DJ is what, 48? And he's still on contract, and he's not going to give us anything.
I think DJ's younger than Stanton. That's the best part.
I know, but I'm gonna go for the exaggeration. So anyway, last thoughts, Ciarra.
My last thoughts are Hal and Cashman aren't done cooking in the kitchen. We're going all in this year. We have a big statement to make in 2025. I really hope you guys learn to love Pete Alonso, because he will be our first baseman. He's a little weird. He does some weird things sometimes, but he'll grow on you.
Okay. And my last word would be that it's nice to see, Cashman in the mall instead of in the dumpster. That's been really refreshing. He's low key been a little bit in the dumpster, and you know what? He has to always go back. He will be back there. I think we, should manage your expectations and know that, even though we got a big shiny object this week with Williams, and we discussed today at least 2 or 3 more that we would want, with Machado being new in this conversation. And it's just been, Hal has shown his cards in that wallet that he opens up for Soto. And you can't put that genie back in the bottle, because now we know what you were willing to do, Hal. And so, just know that we're going to continue to come at you and remind you of the ridiculous, and I do think it was ridiculous what happened with Soto. That's a whole other show that no one will want to listen to me talking. But totally ridiculous that MLB has gone in that direction. But You went there, Hal. I mean, and no, not one fan was mad at you. That says a lot. And that should tell you how we want to see you do the rest of business from moving forward on. So, other than that, I think it's time to say, chat. If you flew in and I missed you, I'm sorry. Part of it had to do on technology issues, and I kept freezing. But we're so grateful that you're here and adding to the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the join button. A membership, like I said, gets you access to premium content. And as always, come back next Sunday. We'll have had all our merry, and we'll be waiting for our Horn Institute on New Year's Day. But this show will be on next Sunday. As always, you have a reserved seat right here on the upper deck with me and Ciarra. So let's get to trading. The stream doesn't want to end.